In part 2 of our trip down to Kinston, we head over to Social House Distillery and get a visit with Kerry Josie, the president. After that, we head over to the Chef and the Farmer and have dinner.
I'm here with Kerry Joshi, and he is the president of the Social House Vodka. And so he's hosting us here at their new tasting room.
Right. Pump House 1906 in Kinston.
Pump House 1906. Excellent.
So tell me how the idea got started, and then how you guys ended up in Kinston.
Sure. Well, the idea started with me and a group of friends. Me and an attorney somehow got invited to this restaurant group in Raleigh, about 12 restaurant owners, and then me and this attorney were invited to go and share fellowship with these guys at each of their restaurants. So we'd go and have like a 10-course meal at someone's restaurant and just eat and drink, be merry, share war stories. Everyone was an entrepreneur, so everyone had all these cool things to share.
Right.
And as time progressed, they were just the best time. Everyone looked forward to it. It was once a month. It was just so great. And at that time, I had just sort of sold my commercial real estate business and was looking for the next thing. And I was like, how can I just do this all the time? This is awesome.
Right.
And I was like, well, there's not really a business of just eating. Well, maybe there is. So, a lot of folks talked about craft brewing because it was just taking off. But I'm a firm believer you can't sell Cadillacs unless you drive them. So I'm not a big beer fan. So I was like, well, maybe this spirits thing might work. And so I went to the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky and started doing research. And, one distillery became 2, became 30. Going to some big ones and small ones. And I was like, this is really an opportunity. It was deregulating, which is something I was familiar with from telecommunications.
Right.
Deregulation, I was part of that. And I was like, okay, this is really sort of a fantastic opportunity. So then started, pull together the team. I had restaurant folks and other folks that were experts in the industry, put together a strong management team and went off seeking funds and raised some capital. Through an odd internet news group thing, I saw there was a turnkey distillery for sale in Kinston. And I was like, oh my gosh, we had this opportunity to get this equipment, which at the time had almost a 2-year lead time.
Right.
It was very popular. Craft brewers taking up distilling.
Sure.
So
and it all eats up a lot of the similar equipment.
All the same stainless steel. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So we're like, let's find this guy and go. And he wasn't answering any of the phone numbers or anywhere we could reach him. So I put his name in Facebook. And one friend popped up. I called him, told him the story. He starts busting out laughing. I'm like, but it's not that funny. I was creeping on Facebook. He goes, no, that's my brother-in-law. I was like, oh, no way. I said, well, call him up. We're coming to Kinston tonight. Worst case, we'll have dinner at Chef and the Farmer.
Right.
So I was like, okay, dials him up. We can shoot down here. And the guy had a turnkey distillery actually behind the old baseball diamond.
Right.
Well, the new baseball diamond.
So it wasn't this one?
The Texas Ranger Stadium. Yeah, no, it wasn't this one. It was up back there. And he had a full distillery. He had a hammer mill, grain silos. He was ready to rock and roll. And we were like, oh my gosh, let's do it. So we started getting down to details. And I was in the commercial real estate business. So when I asked him, we need to buy the facility because we're going to invest more equipment and can't really move it, he really loved his property and wanted a lot of money for it. And I was like,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. I said, can't make my first deal a bad real estate deal.
Right.
So I said, let's get creative. And we tried and it didn't quite get there. And then I said, you know what, let's go talk to the community. Maybe there's some incentives or grants or something.
Right.
So we set up this meeting and we show up. Holy cow. Chamber of Commerce shows up, City Council shows up, the local county commissioners.
Wow. They want you.
Everybody was here. It was like, holy cow, great day. But on the tour of all the distilleries that I went around, all 47 of them, it was really obvious that the only way some of these small distilleries were making money is through this arrangement, through their distillery sales. Breaking into the distribution was almost impossible. The big guys just choked the channel. You couldn't get into it. So for us coming all the way to Kinston, paying a lot of money, they showed us the downtown Kinston, which is beautiful for a town of 18,000 people, but wasn't going to be enough. We knew if we were in Raleigh, we'd be busy all the time. We had a pretty wide network there. So as I was in the car with the city manager, he said, well, we have this old power plant. Being a real estate guy, I was like, well, we'll go check it out.
Sure.
So he started telling me the story as we're driving, and apparently in 2008, the city put this all together. There's 25 acres on the water. Now, if you're in real estate, water.
It's on the Neuse River.
Yeah,
right?
it's on the Neuse River. Right. The farthest west you can come by boat from the ocean.
Right.
Actually, it's here. So waterfront towns generally always do very well. And so they were hoping that someone would develop this 25 acres on the waterfront and bring Kinston back.
Right.
Well, 2007 and 8 was when they had the financial crisis.
Right.
So no one was looking to develop in New York.
We know about that.
Let alone come to Kinston. So from 2008 to 2016, the city's been hanging on to the property. And we're now at the point when I was driving with him, he said, well, we're actually thinking of tearing it down because, they're worried about liability. So I'm thinking free. They obviously don't put any value in the building.
Yeah, they don't have to tear it down.
Yeah.
Which costs them money.
Holy cow, this looks awesome. So I got this, trying to keep my poker face on. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. And then there's a big concrete wall, which is the reservoir in the back, 1 million gallon reservoir. And as I'm driving up, he tells me that there's a 1 million gallon reservoir of naturally pure water from an aquifer. And I'm thinking, well, vodka is 60% water. And
This is perfect.
I'm like, oh, Christmas came early. So again,
Everything just fell into place.
It did, and I'm trying to, say, well, how long do rezonings take? Because 2 years, I'm trying to negotiate, this is really a bad thing. And you're like, well, what would you like in it? We can probably change it in a week. We'll just write it in. I'm like, oh my God, there's no way to say no. So we were able to strike a tremendous deal. The city of Kinston had been wonderful. Everyone in the town had been wonderful. But in coming here, we knew, and having gone to again all the distilleries, you saw the big ones like Buffalo Trace, who were built over hundreds of years. It's kind of a hodgepodge.
Right.
And now you see new distilleries like almost like Disneyland. You get into your car and they take you through the little tours. So we knew that this would be a property we could grow into over years.
Right.
If we bought something in downtown Raleigh, we'd be stuck. If we got successful, we wouldn't have anywhere to grow.
You'd be landlocked.
Yeah, we'd be landlocked.
Right.
So I was like, this is fantastic, but rather than spend a whole bunch of money here, let's try and build a brand. So we were blessed with early success, fastest growing brand, and everything went terrific. Off to the races we go. We start rounding the corner, and we build it and even add more to the management team. We're getting ready to close what was $2 million, went to $6 million because we had a lot of interest. And the day we're circulating the note for signature, President Trump comes out and says there's a global pandemic.
Right.
And then that guy who was leading the round, $4 million, was also going to come work at the company. As he called me back, so he went NOAA. I was going to go build it. Go build the argue that the world was going to end. He was invested in several other companies that had already started to feel the effects of the supply chain, and he didn't know what was going to happen. So he figured, like any good poker player, you don't lose, but you don't put it. So for us, obviously, that spun us around because that fundraise took a long time and it was extended. And so that combined with the following Monday, the governor closed all the restaurants. There went 80% of our revenue went out the door because we actually were very strong in bars and restaurants.
Right.
And so it was a colossal.
So it was pivot time.
Wow, yeah. So, exactly right. When
Shoot or get off the pot.
You do. Fast action, and so that's what we did. So we had to make some changes to the team, obviously cut back there.
Yeah, cut
and then we had to consolidate, so that moved me to Kinston from Raleigh, which was a move. To itself.
It is.
But we had to consolidate costs and then a pivot to hand sanitizer. Obviously we started producing, and we actually gave away most of it. And then we were very fortunate to connect with one of the board members of El Dorado Resorts. And this hand sanitizer we had again, it was a bottle shortage. So we, instead of trying to buy containers that we had no use, we wanted to use our mini bottles. So in case we didn't sell them, we could always have the mini bottles. And then we had to find a cap, a mister. So when we found this mister, this ended up being perfect for dealers in Vegas because it wouldn't mess up their felt. It would get dripping everywhere.
Okay.
So they were just this. So every casino had it, 30 casinos all across the place.
Nice.
So that got us through a little bit of the time.
So that bridged some of the
bridged
pain.
a little bit for us. Then, obviously conserving capital, we had to do that. And we got essentially back to profitability. And then with the help of some of the government programs, it really got us through. And then we've been steadily growing back. Knowing all that was going on, this seemed to be the best option because we established a brand already. So now we already had people coming to see us and wanting to see us. This is an easy staycation adventure. It's not what people were doing. They wanted to get out and drive. If you're a foodie, which is the kind of target market we have, you want to go and find the story and
Right.
hear about our corn being 11 miles
Right.
away and things like that. So now was the time to do this. Again, being a little light on capital, we had to do most of this work ourselves.
Right.
So
You do what you got to do.
yeah, we had to do
Right.
all that, and again, like I said, so now we just had two highest grossing months ever in our history, like almost 2.5 times where we've ever been before. So it's
Fantastic.
really been fantastic. We diversified some of our revenue stream into third-party practices, which is going to be really strong for us. And we're back at a stage now where we're adding back people. So really strong from where we were, and without having to, as you know from being an entrepreneur, when you're building a business and then having on the money trail, those are hard things to juggle sometimes. And
Very much so.
you got to do both of it. So
Right.
not having to worry about that all the time now because we have a business that's profitable, you can really just focus here.
You just
And
focus
so
on growing the business.
Focus
now.
on the business, focus on the customer, start
Right.
doing things like this that we know they want to see. It's really helped us. And,
Right.
and obviously now, thankfully, the legislature's come around and they've allowed us to actually be a business. Like, it's kind of incredible that you have a business and you're not allowed to sell to customers.
Right.
I mean,
Right, it's
what
crazy.
business is that? You
Got to sell through their distribution
control
network.
Monopoly, like on $1.3 billion in liquor sales in North Carolina, the state takes home $500 million in profit.
Wow.
500 million.
Is the state's off 1.3?
500 million. That hurts
Say
my
that
ass. Look at 'em.
We're continuing to grow the business the way we were, but I don't think it's about being the next nationwide company. That's not the way. The goal is to build and develop a loyal customer base and continue to grow that and build the brand,
Right.
be able to sell more into that good customer. So we're looking to diversify our products. Well, you're going to see some flavored vodkas come out of what we have. You're going to see a water product, actually, in the bottle, the water product we have.
Oh, that's awesome.
The canned cocktails, so again, it's just a convenience situation.
How many bottles of water can you make with that well you got?
It's unlimited amounts of milk.
Because my daddy always, I won't ever forget him saying, "Can you believe we're buying water?" Well, you got a gold mine right
Yes,
there, just
yes.
water.
That's the plan. As soon as we can figure out the bottle situation, supply chain, we're
Right.
going to be on that. But we're looking to do a lot of that and just continue to get market share like a typical business instead of trying to go, geographically. I think that's going to spread the team too thin. We'll just grow out of our own needs.
Are you looking to expand outside of North Carolina?
We're going to now because I think the reality is we're probably a couple years away from even the state here relaxing some of their laws and allowing direct shipment. Right now, you're technically not supposed to be able to get that bourbon shipped to your home.
Right.
If you scroll down to the bottom of the web screen, you'll actually see you're shipping it to yourself. They're helping you ship it to yourself, and you there bear the responsibility of illegally shipping it to yourself.
Right.
Obviously that doesn't work. No one wants to go hurt the consumer. It's a need. They just have to figure out how to split the pie. So that's going to get solved like anything. The government can't hold it back. They've allowed online shopping for ABC stores actually right now. So I don't know if they got that even figured out. So someone could order here to go pick it up. They don't have a pickup area right now. So they're gonna have to figure that out.
Right.
But it's definitely a need. The ability for delivery is coming. We have DoorDash and things like that. Why can't someone DoorDash distilled spirits? First off, why is distilled spirits something different than beer and wine?
Right.
Right.
We've got a few extra pieces in here now. So,
Gotten much bigger.
yeah, this is for actually, so we'll start making some new stuff. Obviously, it's a smaller piece, but
Okay, so tell me about the process, and so
Sure.
how does it go?
so the process, obviously, what we want to talk about is taking it from corn to vodka.
Go ahead.
And so what we do actually is we get our corn from 11 miles away, Seven Springs, and the farmer actually was kind enough, because the process of milling the corn down to sort of like cornmeal, the dust is explosive. And obviously we're dealing also with alcohol, and that's also potentially a fire hazard. So he's kind enough to mill it for us. And so outside we have a hopper that we get the corn in this condition, we hydrate it and pipe it in through that stainless steel pipe into that first tank, which is called the mash tun. Now corn doesn't have sugar, it has starch. So what we need to do is cook the corn, and we add some naturally occurring enzymes, alpha anamase and glucoanamase, which in a lot of beer they add malted barley, some whiskeys they add the malted barley. But those enzymes, we add to that, it breaks the starch down into sugar. So we cool it after that and put it into those two tanks, the Latina tanks. Those are our fermentation tanks.
Okay.
That's where we add the yeast. The yeast consume the sugar and excrete alcohol and CO2.
Right.
So
And
that
how long
process-
do they stay in there?
That process takes about 4.5 days, and we get about a 10% beer. Now, we could stay longer and try and get 11%, but now you're talking another week, and so it's not worth the extra days for the amount of yield you're going to get. So that is the only part of the process where alcohol is actually made. Now the goal for us is to purify it.
Right.
So that beer, unlike the beer that you probably drink at your local tap room, doesn't have hops and other things that add flavor to it. This is a corn beer, which is going to taste like a corn beer.
Right.
So
Which is not going to be very drinkable.
So that's about 1,100 gallons, and so if you're thinking about it at 10%, there's about 100 gallons of alcohol. The rest of the process is to purify that alcohol. So we take that first and we put it into this first still, and this is called our stripping still. And so over an 8-hour process, it goes fairly quickly. We basically boil the liquid, which is at this point a wash. The alcohol will boil first, so it vaporizes first. It comes across, hits the condenser, and converts back to liquid. And now we start collecting that. So we get about 200 gallons of the 1,100 gallons we had, but now it's around 40% alcohol.
Right.
So from that process, we take it into this still, which is our finishing still. And in between each one of those sight glasses is a perforated plate. So again, we start with the heat at the bottom of the kettle. It starts to vaporize the alcohol. But as the alcohol hits the cold steel, it turns back to liquid and drops down. Once this metal heats up, the vapor passes through to the next metal, which is cooler, turns back to liquid, drops back down. And then it keeps repeating that process.
So that's a purification
That's
process?
the distillation. So you could say we distill our vodka 24 times, so it happens 24
This
times.
is, each one of those is a separate distillation process.
Correct. And so this process takes a lot longer. It's about 16 to 18 hours. You go very slow because we want to be very precise. Mother Nature is very kind to us in that the way they separate the alcohol, it's all the ones that are bad for you boil first. So the methanol, all the things that make you go blind and not good for you.
Right.
They come off first. Those are called your heads. We collect that and we use that for cleaning primarily. After the heads, you have your hearts, which is what you want to collect. That's the good ethanol, the beverage drinking ethanol. And then it sort of operates like a bell curve. So as you get to the other end, around 208 degrees, we stop collecting the hearts and you get into tails. Not necessarily anything bad for you, but it tastes like cardboard, so it really changes the flavor. So that's where some of the magic or the craftsmanship in making vodka is. So on the front end, again, if you had only pure ethanol, you'd have like a straight line. So you'd have to come out to get some volume or yield. But depending upon how far you go on each side of the spectrum is how your vodka is going to taste.
Yeah, gotcha.
So that's where the sort of art and magic comes. But once that goes through that process, we collect it. We have a 96% pure alcohol. And from that, that's where we then add the fantastic artesian well water, dilute it back down to 40%, and then we let it rest for 2 weeks, and that's where you have your vodka. So then.
And why does it have to rest? Is it just a flavor thing?
We feel, there's the process of distillation, and also when you re-inject and add water, it's a big chemical process. So we just want time.
Want it to really mix.
Yeah, to really mix. And then we filter it through our carbon filters and 6 other filters just for purification and to remove any other unwanted particles. And then we're ready to bottle.
Is that done in here or is that done somewhere else?
So we do the filtering at the warehouse.
At the bottling area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just because of the size and the tanks and holding tanks and things like that.
Cool. So Carrie, I want to thank you for taking the time to show us around today and show us the distillery and the new tasting room. Really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you coming all the way from Raleigh, and I hope you had to see a little bit of town as well as a little bit of how we do things here in Kinston.
So if you're in the Kinston area, the address of this place is
906 Atlantic Avenue.
906 Atlantic Avenue, and it's open from when to when?
We're open, the distillery is open 9 to 5 throughout the week, but the tasting room is open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 5 to midnight.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
But thank you.
We leave the Social House Distillery and head over to Chef and the Farmer restaurant for dinner. Chef and the Farmer is located at 120 West Gordon Street. We tried a couple of the appetizers, the flash fried collards, and the butterbean hummus are a must. For vegetables, the Brussels sprouts au gratin, the mac and cheese, and the beans and toast, which I'd never had before. All were wonderful.
I am here with, what's your name?
Beth.
Beth.
Beth Big Pen.
Big Pen.
Yes.
Actually, I know some Big Pens that are down at the coast that are from here. Are you related to Doyle Big Pen?
I don't think so. That's my married name, so I'm not sure.
Okay. And you're the manager here?
Yes.
Okay. And we're at the Chef and the Farmer restaurant in Kinston. And so, this has been a very, very popular restaurant. And so why do people come here? What do they come here for?
Well, it might have something to do with our chef, Vivian Howard. Vivian Howard had a show on PBS 5 seasons called A Chef's Life. It was just chronicled her time as a chef, her moving from New York to Eastern North Carolina to start this restaurant.
Right.
Followed how she wanted to keep the Eastern North Carolina foodways alive. And I think she's done a great job of that. So there was also a second show that aired after A Chef's Life called South by Southwest, which she went around to different places in the United States to talk about other cultures, foodways, and how they relate to how one episode that sticks out was about empanadas and how that could relate to one culture, but then we would call it hand pies here in the South.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
So I thought that was a really cool episode.
So how long, excuse me. How long has the restaurant been here?
2006.
2006?
Yes.
Now they have excuse me. Now they have another restaurant in Charleston, right?
That's right.
What's the name of that one?
So Lenore is the sit-down, dine-in restaurant in Charleston. And there's also a bakery counter, kind of a grab-and-go counter called Handy and Hot. It's also located in the same hotel. It's the Renaissance Hotel on Wentworth in Charleston.
Okay. And is this, you guys, is it farm to table? Do you get like a lot of local produce
as much as we can from local farmers.
Okay.
There's some things that we just can't get from local farmers, so we have to get that elsewhere. But I would say 80% of what we serve is from local farmers. So that's why our menu is so different from day to day, because we are getting fresh
So based
produce.
on what you can get, you're changing the menu.
The menu is based on what we can get and when we can get it.
Right.
Yes.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah,
I appreciate
my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gretchen had the peel and eat shrimp.
Steak frites, beef, the book.
Carrie had the steak with the palm
Had
frites.
the pork. I figured if we share.
I had the pork chop with beets. And I believe Lisa and Joe had the chicken. All were wonderful. There's a lot going on in Kinston. Along with the Chef and the Farmer restaurant and the stuff that Social House Distillery's doing, there's a local entrepreneur named Stephen Hill, which has invested a lot of money in the city. They've created Mother Earth Brewery and also the Mother Earth Motor Lodge, which is a refurbished hotel, kind of refurbished back to the 70s. We finish up the day with a night flight back to Henderson, North Carolina. We want to thank everyone for their hospitality. Carrie at Social House Vodka and the folks at the Chef and the Farmer restaurant. Food was wonderful. If you get down to Kinston, please check them out. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. If you like the content, please subscribe to the Flying Fishing and Food YouTube channel. Again, thanks so much for watching.